Testing, can you hear me? Testing, we're all right? Ollie, ollie, odds and free. I don't have to show it, it's there. Oh. Okay, good morning, everyone. Good to have you here in person, and those of you online. Hi, Meredith, our granddaughter, and a couple others. Grandparents' Day? Thanks to Sandy and Ross for handling the technology so that we can make it available to people who view online. I'm really excited about the book of Job. I noticed that this title, though, at first it was more than a man can take, and then I go, wait a minute, that's not proper. But it kind of has a dual meaning. It certainly talks about Job and what he was going through is more than a person can take. But then I thought, does that describe the class itself? Well, I hope not. Overall, I believe that it will be exciting and meaningful. There will be some challenges as we get into the poetry in the future. Is there anybody here that didn't get an email of the class? Okay, we had a little glitch this week. If for any reason you didn't, be sure to put your email on the attendance list. And I'll try to say that again for anyone who came in late. So let us pray. Wise and just God, we often do not understand your wisdom and your justice. We go through struggles and sufferings, and when we do, we look to you for relief and for answers. But like Job, those answers often don't come immediately. So open our hearts and our minds to your message to us through the book of Job. May we ultimately find hope in the sufferings of your Son, Jesus, in whose name we pray. Amen. All right. Sandy, I'm stuck. Maybe I don't have it on. Yeah. It helps to turn things on. 1958, the play J.B. opened on Broadway based on the book of Job. It was written by Archibald MacLeish and directed by Elie Kazan, and it starred Christopher Plummer. The play received the Pulitzer Prize and also a Tony Award for the best play. So obviously, if you had that many important people and those kind of awards, there must be something worthwhile about the book of Job. And those people in the Broadway play are not alone. Someone wrote that Job is the Shakespeare. Job is the Shakespeare of the Bible. Another person wrote, a scholar said that it needs to be numbered among the greatest literature of all times. Martin Luther wrote, it's magnificent and subtle as no other book of Scripture. Richard Rohr said it's a postgraduate course in moral education. And then there's the scholar Jerome in the 4th century who wrote that the book of Job is like an eel. Since the more you try to contain it, the slippier it becomes. Well, I would like to suggest that the book of Job is our story. It's very contemporary and relevant in this day of violence and of war and of suffering and disaster, and just a Christian understanding of our own lives and the struggles we have with our faith. So first, some background. This chart shows the Hebrew Bible as it was arranged and divided. There are the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, or the law, and that's followed by wisdom literature, which Job is included among. and then the prophets. So you see, Job is a special type of writing, wisdom literature. Wisdom literature, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, normally speaks about a divine plan, a wise counsel for God's faithful people. Follow these directions and you'll have a good life. How to live well in the world, how to do the right thing. Yes. So the central theme of the righteous are wise, and they are blessed, and the foolish are wicked and cursed. However, these wisdom books are outside of the normal storyline of the Bible. There's nothing in them about salvation, very, very little about grace or even deliverance. It's interesting, in 1 Corinthians, the writer calls Jesus the wisdom of God. He's the fulfillment if you're looking for a way of life and how to live it to the best. So we start here with some suggested themes for the book of Job. Each of them is somewhat right and applicable. Some say it is theodicy, since there is suffering by a righteous man, and the book seeks to justify and vindicate God. I didn't know God needed to be defended. Secondly, is the way many people approach the book today. Why do the righteous suffer? And that's an important topic. And they offer all kinds of explanations of that. You'll hear those from Job's friends. The third suggested theme follows closely after that, offering guidance in the midst of your own suffering. People refer to James chapter 5, which is often translated as the patience of Job. I have to smile about that because, as we're going to see, Job didn't end up very patient. Some theologians say the book deals with the historic battle between God and Satan, and we're going to see some of that in our lesson today. As Lutherans, we can't help but see God's hidden grace, but we have to look deeply for that. In fact, I found a detailed 12-page article by a famous Old Testament Lutheran scholar, Alfred von Rohr-Schauer, entitled Salvation by Grace, the Heart of God's Theology. However, I don't think we'll see much of God's grace until probably the last lesson. There's one final theme that I'm going to present right out of the text itself. That'll be in a couple of minutes. But first, a little levity to get us started. Charles Schulz frequently quotes from Job. Here's poor Peanuts. Maybe he's one of the Rangers pitchers. 9 home runs in a row. Good grief, what can I do? We're getting slaughtered again, Schroeder. I don't know what to do. Why do we have to suffer like this? Man is born of trouble as the sparks fly upward. What? He's quoting from the book of Job, Charlie Brown, 7th verse, 5th chapter. Actually, the problem of suffering is a very profound one, and if a person had bad luck, it's because he's done something wrong. That's what I always say. I can't read that in my... What's what, my friends? Job's friends told, whatever. What about Job's wife? I don't think she gets enough credit. I think a person who never suffers never matures. Suffering is actually very important. Who wants to suffer? Don't be ridiculous. A pain is part of life. I've heard that before. No pain without gain. or no gain without pain. A person who speaks only of the patience of Job reveals what he knows, that he knows very little of the book. Now, the way I see it, and finally, Peanuts answers, I don't have a ball team, I have a theological seminary. Yes, that's true. I picked this image of one of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is a Targum of Job. A Targum is an Aramaic translation of the Hebrew and often contain some commentary on the text. I chose it because it shows us that we don't really have all of the message that's there. We don't have a complete understanding of the book or its origin. There's no author or date that is named. The predominant scholarly opinion is that the book is the result of a long period, a long process of writing and editing it. Conservatives, Wesley said, it was written by Moses, and conservatives say that. Others say it was written during the time of Solomon. Others say it's from the Persian period. Still others, it's poetry from pre-exilic period or even during the exile when they were in Babylon. More about that. The book makes little mention about traditional themes of Israel's faith. I mean, there's nothing about the temple, the city of Jerusalem, the Exodus, or the Sinai covenant. It does use the covenant name for God, Yahweh, 31 times. Interesting, its language is very complex and sometimes very difficult to translate. There are 101 words that are only used in Job and nowhere else in the Old Testament. The main part of Job is poetry, and that is kind of hard to translate or to understand. The story is about an Edomite sheik from the land of Uz. Uz is mentioned 3 times, daughter of Edom who lives in the land of Uz. Uz is in Edom. One of Job's friends, Eliphaz, is a Temanite, and Jeremiah wrote, concerning Edom, no longer wisdom in Teman. So the Temanite was from Eden. It's probably based upon a historic figure who was living in Eden. Is he not Hebrew? Is an Edomite a Hebrew? I don't think so, but I don't. From Esau.
Oh, from Esau. Okay. However, in the first couple of verses, he's rich, and certainly righteous Hebrews are rich.
The only ones who are rich.
That's correct, because they're the only ones that are righteous.
This is my general approach to the book of Job, and I must say it's evolved over many years and is still evolving. I would say that it's perhaps written or finalized during the time when the Israelites were taken as prisoners into exile in Babylon. Babylon, a pagan city and so forth, a very rich city. The Israelites were living in that foreign land. Israel was struggling and questioning, how did this happen to us? We're God's chosen people. We ought to be on the inside track and everything ought to work out for us. Many scholars' opinion was that it was during this time when the book of Deuteronomy was finished or maybe even written, and that theme influences the message of Job. Deuteronomy contains the theme of blessing and curses. It's predominant in chapters 27 to 30. It talks about cursed is the man who, and also if you fully obey the Lord, you will be blessed. Simple as that. However, if you follow that, the result is understanding that obedience equals reward, and disobedience means curse. Let me say that again. Obedience, faithfulness, brings blessing, but disobedience brings a curse. And that's often suggested in Christian circles today. You've heard about the prosperity gospel. You know, if you follow the rules and are a good Christian, you're going to be rewarded. And that reward is a payback for being faithful. I remember in Sunday school, well-meaning Sunday school teachers taught us to be a good little boy or a good little girl because you will be blessed. Things will go better for you. Any of you get picked up on that? Believe it or not, I found this in the Dallas Morning News. It was in a letter to the editor about Scotty Scheffler, the successful championship golfer. The person wrote, could it be that golfer Scotty Scheffler is so successful because of Deuteronomy 5? Walk in obedience to all that the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live and prosper and prolong your days in the land that you may possess, and you will be a better golfer. I guess that's why I'm such a lousy golfer. I'm not a good enough Christian. Obedience equals reward. Disobedience equals curse. We're going to delve deeper into that in a few minutes. So let's go. Let's get started. Job chapter 1, the prologue, verses 1 to 3. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. And he had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among the people of the East. So here's Job. As we mentioned again, from the land of Uz, probably part of Eden, south of Judah. With 4 brush strokes, the author paints a picture of Job as an outstanding righteous man, blameless, upright, feared God, and shunned evil. And he's blessed by God. He was highly successful. 7 sons and 3 daughters. 10, the perfect number. And that's repeated in 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 10,000, perfect number. 500 oxen, 500 donkeys, also a number 10. And a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among the people of the East. Interesting. If he was that great, why is there not more evidence of him? That's a question for someone else to answer. Verse 5, hang on to this to get an idea of his righteousness. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of fasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom.
So if you have a party, you have to be sacrificed for? You have to atone for having a party?
Well,
Yeah, what did you do at the party? Job was being careful. If there was a party and his children had done anything wrong the next morning, even if they didn't, just to be safe, he would get up in the morning and conduct religious services to atone for the sins of his children. I'm sure my mother prayed about me growing up. She had to. But nothing like that. What? That I know of? Well, getting up, sacrificing to purify your sons and daughters. What a righteous man. What a holy man. What a devout man Job was. Doing it right. Yes.
It's interesting that even before Leviticus was written and all the sacrificial laws and stuff, that he's already sacrificing. Is that right? Because this is the earliest book, right?
We're not sure about the date. It could be, and that would follow, although he had to have gotten his idea about purifying his children from somewhere. Wesley, you had a quick question?
I was going to say, I think that the historians will tell you everybody in Levant and wherever this area of the eastern Mediterranean sacrificed. The Ammonites sacrificed, the Romans sacrificed, everyone sacrificed.
Wesley is saying in the Eastern religious culture, all people sacrificed, whether they were Israelites or not. Okay. One day, keep that in the back of your mind. It could be an echo of Genesis. One day, the angels, the word there is literally sons of God, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth in it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless, upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil."
Are those the exact same words?
Yes, yes. They will be repeated again.
Oh, okay.
Are they the exact words from the first part? Yes. Anyway, the scene is now shifting to the throne of God. Here are the angels, the sons of God, which strangely included Satan. Yes. The name Satan means accuser or condemner. Yahweh asks, "Where have you come from?" Does that trigger anything from Genesis? God went looking for Adam and he said, "Vobistu, where are you?" Here asking Satan a similar question. "I'm walking to and fro on the earth." Yes, the world is Satan's domain. And Yahweh brings up his servant Job. You can almost hear Job saying, "Oh, wait a minute, God, keep me out of this." But he didn't. In fact, Yahweh makes Job the center of the heavenly discussion. Job becomes the chessboard for the battle between God and Satan. God repeats Job's credentials. No one on earth like him, blameless, upright, fears God, shuns evil. Now it comes. Oh, shoot. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied. Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, "Very well then, everything he has in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. The comment is that Satan tempted Jesus, and the question was, I'm sorry, do not tempt me. Yeah. That's a theme I'm going to pick up much, much later. But thank you for that little advanced thing. Yeah, I won't touch it today. Anyway, the throne of Does Job fear God for nothing? This to me is the central theme of the book. Does Job fear God for nothing? Think about this for a minute. Why are you a Christian? I mean, why do you come to church? What's your motive? Am I entirely selfless in our way of being a Christian? Or are we trying to stay on God's good side so that we'll end up being blessed? I mean, do you just want to make sure that you're going to go to heaven? Is your faith nothing more than a fire insurance policy to keep you out of the fires of hell? Are we truly selfless in following God? Or do we only honor God when it's in our best interests? Remember, Luther defined sin as being curved in on self. Yet so much of the modern approach to Christianity is just like that, promising blessings if you are faithful. And that leads to a problem, that when something goes bad in a person's life, they pray to God and ask for help, which doesn't come, or at least not immediately. Then that person is disillusioned, and they turn their backs on God and on the church. God was not beneficial to them. He didn't act the way they expected or they had been told to believe. So the question of the book is not, why do the righteous suffer? It's, why are the righteous pious? Why are Christians faithful? Why do we go to church? Are we expecting blessings? And is it always true then that the opposite, evil, brings bad consequences? Always? One other thought on this is that somehow our actions control God. If we're good enough, then we can twist God's arm so that he will bless us. And that theme will be expanded in many of the coming weeks. Comments on that?
That made me uncomfortable.
Yes, it made you uncomfortable. Me too. Makes us look at ourselves. Because there is a part of us that is turned in on self. Absolutely. We're in what's good for us. And so we want to be faithful, so we will be blessed. Now, that's not always the motive, but it's there. Anyone else?
Reading a commentary in my Bible, and it's saying that Satan here is not the Satan of
Yeah.
and that it's the accuser that's part of this divine council in heaven, which this I've not heard this before. So
Okay, the comment is that the Satan that's commented on in your Bible is not the devil that we think of. Is that right?
Satan in Job is different than
Satan in Job is different than the devil. Linda Lyle had that too in one of her commentaries and asked me about it. I don't know which Satan there is. Is there more than one? Or is this just the other side of God in this? Satan is a title, not necessarily a person. The accuser. In this dialogue, in this chess match. The designated accuser. All right.
So it's somebody that's just calling into question whatever is.
the devil's advocate.
Ah, very good, yeah.
The devil's advocate. Okay.
That's true.
We'll come back to this.
Okay.
One day, Genesis again? I don't know. When Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabaeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, "Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead. And I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." Good writing there, how it repeats these things. Blow after blow, literally all hell breaks loose. I mean, the tempo is fast. Job has no time to catch his breath or recover. In minutes, he experiences absolute and total destruction and ruin. I mean, just think of other people who've experienced similar destruction and devastation. People after the stock market crash, jumping out of windows. People in Ukraine today. The children, the parents of children at Camp Mystic. Someone who somehow survives a tornado while their neighbors are killed. Someone diagnosed with terminal cancer. I mean, you supply your own experience here. One after another come to him, and Job's empire is crushed. Verse 20. At this, Job got up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship. I mean, these are all signs of deep grief and mourning. He tore his robe. He was divesting himself. He shaved his head like Marines do to recruits to remove their pride and their sense of self. Yet he fell to the ground and worshiped. Wow. I don't think I could live up to that, going through all that. 21. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. This is not some pious platitude or a rationalization that you can't really take it with you. Job knew the Lord's Prayer even before Jesus taught it. Thy will be done. 22. In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing.
So it is sinful to blame God for something?
The question is it sinful to blame God for something? It seems like that will be repeated, that question.
Whoa, but he didn't know that. He doesn't know that.
But God allowed it.
Yeah.
God allowed it.
Oh.
Chapter 2. On another day, that echo of Genesis 1, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. And he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." "Skin for skin," Satan replied. "A man will give all he has for his own life. But now stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well then, He is in your hands, but you must spare his life. It's hard to curse if you're dead, yes. It's the same theme as chapter 1, now repeated, and Yahweh's words about Job are the same again. But Satan does not admit defeat. Instead, he is brash. Yahweh, you haven't really touched Job where it hurts. Take away his health, then he'll curse you to your face. And God responds, he's in your hands, only spare his life. But now it gets morbid and gruesome. Sores, boils, sitting in an ash heap, a garbage dump. His successful way of life is over. In later chapters, we will read that there is fever with chills, eyes swollen from weeping, diarrhea, sleeplessness, delirium, bad breath, emaciation, and excruciating pain throughout his body. Sounds like aging. You just wait, fella. You'll find out. One other cruelty. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." One final cruelty for Job. His wife turns on him. Curse God and die? St. Augustine calls her the devil's handmaiden. Sort of like Eve in Genesis, perhaps. But don't judge her too harshly. I mean, she's suffering too. The loss of 10 children. I mean, there's nothing more anguishing than for a parent to bury a child. She despairs. And in this chess game, the queen is moved to checkmate Job.
I think it's interesting that the destruction of Job and all he has does not include his wife.
It's interesting that in all the destruction, it didn't include his wife.
But that wouldn't be something that would be included in total devastation.
That wouldn't be included in wouldn't be included in total devastation. Or the story writer left her in for this. Yeah. Again, it's wisdom literature. It isn't necessarily an actual.
The wisdom is,
It's still there. Anything else? When Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamanite, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Bad news travels fast. I mean, his wealth undoubtedly had brought a bunch of friends. Some of them are curious now about his grief. So his friends are drawn to him in his misery. And initially, they are very helpful. They are there to mourn with him. They offered the ministry of presence. The ministry of presence. Those of you who are Stephen's ministers, you kind of understand that. Notice they don't offer answers like we people do when there's a disaster. At least they don't at this point. We so often offer shallow platitudes of hope. Judy, what did you read that? No. What did he? You.
Sufferers attract fixers the way roadkill attracts vultures.
Okay, she read that in the car to me this morning. Eugene Peterson, sufferers attract fixers, like roadkill attracts vultures. That's true. I mean, we often want to fix people. We want to make things right. But these three friends need time to process that before they start doing that. They don't need to be too quick to try and even defend God. Instead, the friends tear their robes, put dust on their heads in their own act of sorrow and grieving, and they sit with him for 7 days and 7 nights on that garbage pile. Here's true empathy, not sympathy. They are there to feel with him, to walk in his shoes. Of course, he probably didn't have his shoes left. Yeah, we men, particularly, if our wives or someone is having a problem, we want to fix it. When sometimes all you want to do is have someone there to listen to you and be with you. The ministry of presence. Please, yes.
My commentary is full very
Different.
counter what I've ever learned about Job. I'll just say. So this says these three have kindly intentions towards Job, but when they see how badly he is suffering, they do not offer him any consolation, but treat him as if he were already dead, throwing dust on their heads and mourning rituals, silently mourning them 7 days and 7 nights.
It's like sitting Shiva.
So they're acting,
Yeah.
they're acting like, I mean, that's just different than I've ever taken.
Yeah.
I've always heard it as, it is a sense of,
Your commentary is saying they're acting as if he already is dead. Yeah.
and that
They're not helping him.
they're just sitting there. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Definitely gonna agree with it, but
Yeah.
Maybe they started out in sympathy, and as they sat there for 7 days, they kind of started thinking if it could happen to him, maybe it could happen to us.
Maybe they thought if it could happen to him, it could happen to us.
I think it also may be just from whenever that was written, the greater understanding of what empathy is and what true help is. Because I don't think there's a long history of thinking presence is what's needed.
At the time,
Whenever that commentary, which I don't know when originally it was written, but I think there's been an evolution of
okay.
the ideas of what.
Our modern approach to someone is different than what it was back then, is what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. We understand. You don't have to be a professional clinical counselor. All you got to do is be there and be a friend to someone and empathize with them. Okay, we're going to move on. I did that, didn't I? Chapter 3. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, "May the day of my birth perish, and the night that said a boy is conceived. That day may it turn to darkness. May God above not care about it. May no light shine on it. May gloom and utter darkness claim it once more. May a cloud settle it. May blackness overwhelm it. That night may thick darkness seize it. May it not be included among all the days of the year, nor be entered in any of the months. May that night be barren. May no shout of joy be heard in it. May those who curse days curse that day, those who are ready to rouse Leviathan. May its morning stars become dark. May it wait for daylight in vain and not see the first rays of dawn, for it did not shut the doors of the womb on me to hide trouble from my eyes. Now Job is looking for answers. I'm sorry, I read the wrong thing. In the first two chapters, the emphasis was that Job did not sin or accuse God of doing wrong. But now, after some time, the depth of the suffering sinks in. He curses. That's more than missing a putt and saying a four-letter word. Here, the silence is broken with a burst of thunder and lightning, and it's hardly equaled in any other literature. Actually, there's no lightning. In fact, Job speaks of darkness. Interesting, because that's the reversal of Genesis chapter 1. What's the first thing that God created? Light. Now there's no light. It's all gone. There's only darkness. The goodness of creation is shattered and reversed. Only darkness. Is this the same pious, patient Job here? But he didn't curse God as Satan had wanted. He cursed the day that he was born. Here's sincere sorrow and true suffering. Just think about it. Would you be driven to that point of saying, I wish I had never died, I'd never been born? People get there. And they give up. Okay, we continue on in chapter 3. Job says, why did I not perish at birth and die as I came from the womb? Why were there knees to receive me and breasts that I might be nursed? For now I would be lying down in peace. I would be asleep and at rest with kings and rulers of the earth who built for themselves places now lying in ruins, with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Why was I not hidden away in the ground like a stillborn child, like an infant who never saw the light of day? There the wicked cease from turmoil, and there the weary are at rest. Captives also enjoy their ease. They no longer hear the slave drivers shout. The small and the great are there, and the slaves are freed from their owners. Why is light given to those in misery, and life to the bitter of soul, to those who long for death that does not come, who search for it more than a hidden treasure, who are filled with gladness and rejoice when they reach the grave? Why is life given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For sighing has come before my daily food, my groans pour out like water. What I feared has come upon me, what I dreaded has happened to me. I have no peace, no quietness, I have no rest, only turmoil. Why? Job is looking for some answers. And for the first time he asks why, which he will 16 times in the book. It's just like when that tsunami hit Camp Mystic, people wanted answers. They wanted to know why, and they wanted to know who they could blame. I mean, if God is loving and caring and omnipotent, then why did this happen to Job? Even Jesus cried, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Job no longer speaks of taking the evil with the good. Well, he even forgets what he told his wife. Satan has rubbed salt into his wounds, and we are left wondering if Job will be driven to blasphemy. He is certainly on the brink. His whys seem to say that someone owes him an answer. Could he be asking God for an answer? That's the end of our lesson today.
Oh, thanks.
As an old Lutheran pastor, I really want to end on a positive note. I mean, I'd like to share a message of grace, but it's not fitting, not appropriate yet. We have to leave Job and his friends stuck in their sorrow and grief. Comments?
I'm still uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. I think the writer would be glad that the reader is uncomfortable, because this is our story. And how would we react? What can we learn from Job? At this point, there are no answers. Little levity. A church sign. Whoop, whoop. It's on the front of a church. Try God. Makes sense? Then someone has come along and added their graffiti. On what charge? Well, we're going to see in the coming weeks that Job could have written that. What charges can we bring against God? Okay, next week, Pastor Kenny will be here to take on Job chapters 4 through 7, and one of the friends, Eliphaz, whom we have labeled the counselor who missed the mark. Once again, just a reminder, if you haven't received the email about the class, it normally goes out on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Be sure we have your email address over there. Our closing. I appreciate modern contemporary music in contemporary worship. But it seems to me that it's all full of praise, and there's seldom a cry for help or a lament. And that's only half of the message of the Bible. 65 of the 150 Psalms are Psalms of lament. It's part of our lives. Don't deny it. I've always appreciated this Psalm 190 because it captures the raw emotion of someone during suffering, difficulty, disappointment, disaster. Yet it offers hope. So would you stop for a minute and just kind of get in touch with the fact that you're human and you suffer, or at least the world around you is full of suffering? And then would you join with me in praying this psalm? Okay, Psalm 130. Out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. If you, Lord, kept a record of sins, Lord, who can stand? But with you there is forgiveness, so that we can with reverence serve you. I wait for the Lord, my whole being waits, and in his word I put my hope. I wait for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning, more than watchmen wait for the morning. Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all their sins. Okay. Thank you very much. We still have some time, but